We now head to Central Africa. The escalating conflict in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo has forced thousands of people to flee their homes in the past 2 years. Doctors Without Borders, MSF, says the conflict has made many people find refuge on the other side of the border between North and South Kivu provinces. But the real story behind the crisis is that the conflict in Ituri province is being fueled by the race to exploit the region's rich oil reserves. The suspicion being that violence is a cheap way to rid the land of its inhabitants without paying to relocate them. At least that is what many local inhabitants believe, as well as several archbishops in the region who constantly refer to the invisible hands that help organize attacks and provide money and communications equipment. Joining us on NC Continental Prime is Benedicte Kumbi, Congo Historian and Activist based in Switzerland. Hello, Kumbi, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Doctors Without Borders is sounding an alarm about the conflict, the escalation of it in the eastern Congo. What do you make of this saying that there is a real story behind the crisis, the race to exploit the region's rich oil reserves?
Well, I think that when talking about the Congo, we should always ask two questions. Who are the players and what do they want? So the interest for Congo's riches is not new. And even what we see today is not a renewed interest in those riches, as this trend has been going on since the advent of the slave trade. Some 500 years ago, where African bodies were extracted from the continent in order to feed the capitalistic machine in what was then called the New World. And the colonization of the Congo was another phase of that interest. And what we see today is the continuation of what we can call the Leopoldian state. Named after Leopold II, the King of Belgium, and the way he administered the Congo for its own interest, of course, but also for the interest of other Western powers. So during the Berlin Conference in 1884, that granted him the Congo as his précaré, something that was never seen before. One important thing was said that is important for us today is that if the Western powers were at war somewhere in the world, they will nevertheless have access to the Congo. So the Congo was shaped as a huge supermarket where everybody could have access if they were willing to pay and help themselves. The innovation today, I would say, is that if we can speak in those terms, is that multinationals and Western multinationals that are supported by their government rely today on proxies, countries such as Rwanda and Uganda to fuel instability in the Congo, in the country, to massacre its population, in instrumentalizing militias. And this is also something that is good for them in the sense that they can also get access to the minerals. And then Mr. Paul Kagame can boast about the skyscrapers in Kigali and the clean streets of Kigali because he's stealing from the Congo with the benediction of the Western power. And as for the Congolese government, since the war of 1996, actually, Joseph Kabila and Mr. Tshisekedi now have admitted they have bought the idea actually of the Balkanization of the Congo as long as they are paid for their collaboration. So what we see now, that interest for oil is not new. If we think about our phones, the laptop, the way we're communicating today, this is actually the minerals that are coming from the Congo, the coltan that are used in all the phones, in the laptops, in PlayStation, and so many things. Yeah. And people have to die in order for the world to enjoy those machines.
That's a very
Nobody talks about that.
that's
Yeah.
I mean that's a strange way for us to say people will enjoy something off the debt of others. What would be your assessment based on the time you've taken to study that environment, the international responses to help address the situation there? Has there been any of significance?
But I think that for what from what I've just said now, that the international community as a whole until has no interest in stopping what is going on in the Congo. I mean, you said that it's a cheap way for those people to get access to those minerals, displacing people, killing them, raping people. This is a cheap way to do it, and then gain a lot of money. And this is what supports the Western economies. So in a certain way, why would they want to stop that? We had a lot of promises, a lot of talk about the Congo. And even when I say a lot, I'm exaggerating because the trend when it comes to Congo is the silence, because nobody has to understand that we have the deadliest conflict since World War II. Some years ago, they counted more than 6 million deaths, but the death toll is just rising.
You don't seem, if I may interject here, you don't seem to have hope that there is a possible solution to the crisis there.
I have a hope. I mean, what I do here is just describing the situation, because I think that people really have to understand that. My hope here is that we as Congolese will really thoroughly understand the situation we are facing, and that will not put our hope in people actually who are just there in order to have power and benefit from that power in a financial term. I think that the duty of changing things rely on us Congolese people. But I think also that it's difficult for population to do that when it was subjected to such violence and for more than 2 decades now. So I think that we can change things. I'm not a hopeless person, but I think that empowering people is to explain them exactly what is going on and what they need to face in order to change things.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. There's so much questions to ask, but we're constrained by time. Thank you so much for talking to us, and good luck with the work that you do.
Thank you very much.